So I don't think that this is talking about like having a hard time getting over a past situation. Okay. I feel like this is more about adapting. And the reason why is because obviously with the Queen of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles, you guys both have something that you guys definitely have. You have your own structure, you have your own, formula that helps you get through life, right? You are independent due to your routines, your actions, and however you guys have it set up in your life at this moment. But it's working together that seems to be a bit of an issue. Because when the devil did come up when I was shuffling, it does talk about a dynamic in which someone feels like they're not really empowered, right? The devil does talk about not necessarily being held back, but not totally using every facet of yourself to the highest potential. So like there's always somebody that's leaning on someone else. So maybe this codependency, this bad old habits or patterns of behavior that doesn't give them or get the other person to a place of success, or even you to success, right? And when it comes to forgiving and learning, this talks about paying attention to your actions, focusing on or looking at what you're doing now that may not be serving you at this moment. And to change those. So it's all about adaptability. And I say that because of the Strength card that's coming out. Strength in the Queen of Coins. And when it comes to, and actually even the Seven of Pentacles underneath that, right? Seven of Pentacles talk about reevaluation, looking things over, kind of like trying to figure out whether what work needs to be done, and if this is something you're willing to have patience for, and really work toward it. Now I don't know if it's you're the one that's having a hard time maintaining patience, or the other person is, but I feel like the biggest thing is adapting and shifting and changing with what's coming in, because everybody's coming in with their own foundation, and it's about putting those foundation pieces together to get them to fit in the way that it's appropriate, of course, not force fitting them, but getting them to fit and coming with compromises and working together. And I think that's part of the issue. Somebody may not be too inclined to negotiations, to working together. And it may be because either the way that they've been living their life has been working for them, and they just have a hard time changing that, or they don't want to change it. They don't want to change it. And it's because it's comfortable for them. But at the same time, that sort of behavior is jeopardizing another. Devil. So we're going to start with this person on this side here. But the other, feel free to pick the side that resonates with you guys the most here. This person here has got the Three of Coins or Three of Pentacles in their mind space. So what does the Three of Pentacles stand for? What does it mean? Well, typically, Three of Pentacles talks about planning for the future with another person. They see that there's a lot of negotiations, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of planning things out, there's a lot of seeing how your energy, or this person's energy, or the other person's energy work together, trying to figure out what future is even, what potential of any future these two have together, or anybody has together. Because Three of Pentacles talks about planning the future with other people. Being a team player with someone else. And with the Three of Coins here, I feel like this person, is looking at it and trying to figure out how far they can go. They're looking at the future from where they are, which is not too bad, right? So they're not planning for the future, but they're looking at like what this future really has to offer them, like what can be made out from where they are at this moment. So this person, in a way, is taking this moment to kind of assess what's coming in, or assess how things can progress, figuring out ways in order to progress with one another. Now, the other person thinking of this relationship as a success. I feel like they are definitely putting in a lot of effort. They've put in a lot of effort, they put in a lot of work, and they are happy with the effort that they've been putting in. They see this as them doing their best work right now. They're, of course, still not quite at the place that they want to be, But they're so happy with it. They're satisfied with it. They're not saying like, "Oh man, if only I could get here sooner." They're more of like, "Yes, I'm doing things. I'm making. There's results from this. I'm making progress." But the thing is that the other person is showing the Page of Wands in the present. And I feel like because of this Six of Wands rather, going on in their mind plane, thinking that this relationship is a success, the work they put in this relationship is a success rather, that they're allowing themselves to have a little bit more fun with it. They're trying to enjoy themselves. They're trying to spark up, passionate love, trying to have more fun, trying to do more things, trying to enjoy the moment. And the other person, though, is showing to be very stuck in their emotions. They don't know. They're looking and comparing to all the other times they've been in relationships. They've had situations very similar to this. And instead of looking at the relationship, instead of looking at the cup, right? The Ace of Cups, the new love that's come in, or the new love that's starting in their life, they're looking and comparing. So this, as well as they're looking for looking towards the future, seeing how everything could, possibly be wonderful. They're coming from a place of, well, I've done everything already. I've done this before. I've done that before. I don't want this to happen again. Or I don't know how I could proceed if everything seems to look the same. So this person is like trying to come up with a future, like I said, trying to figure out what their futures are going to look like, but they're doing it based off of old relationships instead of focusing on how they want to feel. Now, what their spiritual plane is showing us is that the reason why this person is presenting dissatisfaction or, feeling like emotionally stuck, not really able to kind of, engage in certain situations, feeling very apathetic. And they're also trying to figure out what their future has to hold in this moment. More so like trying to figure out like what dynamics both parties can, like what both parties have, what aspects both parties have to work together as a unit to build a future that they want. The reason why this person having such an interesting, interesting pairing together is because of the Four of Coins. They're not opening up to different opportunities. They're sticking to what they know. This person is kind of in a position where they're holding on to their pentacles. Now, this person here, there's no person in this reading, actually. I believe it's a tent with their coins in front of it. And typically in the Rider-Waite, there's somebody that's holding on to their coins. This is someone that's holding back. There's someone that's holding on to their stability for dear life. Because they don't honestly see that there is a potential for great happiness. Or they don't see potential for more to come in. They don't see any opportunities. And part of that is because they're not open to it. They're looking from a place of, oh, I've done this before, instead of what do I want to go for? Which is why this person may be having a hard time seeing how the future is going to even play out, because they're not looking from a place of how they want to experience or what they want to experience, period. They're looking at this from, well, I want to do this because I don't, or rather, I don't really see, I don't know how I can move forward because I like how I am. Where I am is safe. Where I am is stable. Where I am is reliable and consistent. And I know because of the trials and errors I've been through in the past. But I don't know how to get to any other place without leaving my comfort zone. Therefore, I cannot see a future. Therefore, I'm having a harder time planning for the future. I understand that I need one. Something to help me try and do something differently, but I'm only looking at my experiences. I'm only looking at what I've gone through. I'm only looking at, everything that I've already done before, things that are familiar, because that's helped me come up with a stable system that has kept me afloat, but, barely even thriving. So in my eyes, this person's not thriving very well. Because they're bored, and instead of looking at what they want to do, they're looking at what they don't want to experience again, or what they have already experienced to, honestly, to help them get a better idea as to where they want to go, which is, honestly, that's not going to be able to help them find or experience something new. So the other person showing up is the Six of Wands, happy with everything that they've been doing, ready, the Page of Wands, that to me talking about having a good time, having fun, going on a new adventure. This person feels like this is a brand new experience for them. This is their time to be and get to know themselves a little bit more, to grow as an individual, to, to just experience life as the Page of Wands would. And the reason why is because the King of Coins, they know what their worth is. They know that they are valuable. They know that they're stable in every aspect, in every area that they're in. This person is quite confident in themselves. And I don't mean to say that this person, make this person look bad. And I want to make this person look good, because everybody has their flaws. The reason why this person is able to, to be proud of their work, and the reason why they're able to have a lot more fun, is because they only are thinking, and they're considering themselves only. So, like the King of Cups, yes, he's a provider, he's stable, but at the same time, like, this person may have everything straight up, have everything right, and they want to experience it, but the compassion for the other person is missing. Because they're looking at how much they're doing, they're proud of how much they're doing, and they're of course celebrating it as they should, right? But there's no tagging along from the other person, because this person here is happy with where they are. They're in a good, stable space because they're confident and they're aware of their value. They know who they are. But the other person's not on board because they're not quite settled with what, because they're still not on the bandwagon. They're kind of stuck right now. What brought you two together was Four of Wands. That you guys can make a very beautiful connection, a beautiful relationship. The progress that you guys have made in this relationship has definitely shown to stabilize. But right now, you guys have the problem of getting the gusto going, getting the fire started, adapting to each other's needs, adapting to your own needs, trusting and going based off of your emotions. There's a lot of holding back. There's a lot of holding back. And I feel like this King of Pentacles, he's got routines, he's got structure and all that. This person here, they're just kind of doing the best that they can with what they know, but they're holding themselves back from dreams, from because they're looking at the future from a very practical standpoint. That's not going to inspire any ideas or desires of any sort. The Strength card talks about passion and energy, not just the inner strength that's needed to restrain, to control, but to allow yourself to be free. I think there's a lot of bottled up energy, especially from this individual here. They're bottling it all up, and they're becoming more apathetic and not really trying, they don't really start to care about things a lot more. Because, care less about things. Because they aren't experiencing a full experience. So they're not experiencing life. They're very bored. They're very blasé. And it's because they're only looking at what they know, and they have to get out of that what they know and to experience something new, shift their focus to what they want to experience, to what they want to feel, and look for it. It's not going to come to them if they constantly just sit there. So let's take a look at the wisdom of the Oracle. Fork in the road. The decision is needed to be made here. And that definitely is true. Because this person has to decide whether or not this comfort zone is worth it enough to keep staying in a place where they're not really happy with anyway. They want things to come into fruition, but they're coming from a very practical place. They're making dreams out of boring things. They're even bored with it. It's very, very blatant that they're very bored with their own anticipations, their own dreams, because their dreams are not real dreams. They're just ideal. But this person has to shift their heart space. They have to shift this from, well, this is all I've ever experienced, and this is what I'm only going to experience because I'm afraid to step out of my comfort zone. And just be open to stepping out of their comfort zone, because it's going to lead them to something new. both parties can have a good time together and experiencing something new, and to enjoy the passions and beauties of life by connecting with themselves and their emotions authentically, right? This is about connecting with the self and being authentic to the self. And this person is not being authentic to the self, really. They're being authentic to the past, the things that they've experienced, the stuff that they've gone through, but they always look back. They always look back at the past. They look at all the cups that they've already experienced. They look at everything they've been through, good or bad or the ugly. And but instead of looking at how they feel right now or how they want to feel going forward, they're looking at what they have gone through, and they're just trying to settle with what's ideal and kind of keep it there. Because at least it won't bore them, or at least it won't, change. At least it's consistent. But the Four of Wands is a beautiful relationship. It's a beautiful, stepping stone. It's a beautiful milestone that you've made. But that's not the end game. Four of Wands is where you guys plan to expand further. And this person's ready to expand further. But this person is not even quite, there yet at even being settled in the new space. I think some of you guys even got together because you guys needed to move. And some of you guys are happy with the move, and another one of you guys are not really satisfied with it because you guys are looking, somebody is not looking at what they want to feel and going outside the comfort zone to try and find it and to experience it. It's interesting, very interesting. But that's where the choice lies, right? Choice lies right in front of you. What is worth pursuing? Is your heart, is your emotions worth looking to, pleasure, to satisfy, to get the most out of life? Forgiving and learning, I feel like the most thing is more of like, it's definitely forgiving the past. Forgiving the past, everything that this person's done to themselves, the things that they've experienced from others, and learn to live with those experiences, create boundaries for those experiences, but to embrace new ones that can honestly, just obviously, right? Help you experience more love in the present moment.